I love how we each have a completely different baseball team hat on.
Yeah.
If I'm if I'm
I
not
thought you
mistaken, I think my team was the last one that won.
dude, you're from
Yeah,
up north,
and
dude.
and and
Aren't
my
you a
team has the
Dodger fan?
most championships, and Chuck's doesn't even exist anymore.
I'm retro, bro.
It's almost as if your hat got remade with somebody else. It got rebooted, man.
Oh,
Oh,
was
speaking
that
of
is that a
which,
soft reboot or a hard
no,
reboot?
man. Speaking of which, welcome back to another episode of Not a Strong Start, a movie podcast by filmmakers who love to talk movies, television, and anything else in between that we choose. I'm your host, Daniel de Sangre. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, at King_Sangre. That's Sangre. These are my two co-hosts, Chuck.
Chuck, that's me, and you can find me at Chad Ratwell12.
Okay,
Jose Ramos. You can find me at Instagram. This is mi nombre.
there you go, man. So in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the difference between a reboot, a remake, and a reimagining. Because so many people have had that question, right? You know, Hollywood tosses that around every time they're redoing something else. It's a remake. It's like, okay, no. This one's a reboot. What? There's a soft reboot. What? And there's a hard reboot? Like, what does that mean? We're going to go ahead and
It's a
explain it for you guys.
it's a reboot that's so good you get hard.
Exactly. But when it's so soft, you don't. Then it's like, that's when you bring a hot
It's hard
dog.
to get people in. It's from theaters, you know.
Yeah, man. It's COVID. I mean, who has that, right?
Yeah,
Right,
not
guys?
any of us.
Yeah, man. Anyways, so current event, Christopher Nolan. You can explain that one and the huge giant cast that he's assembled for his new movie.
Oh, do you have that in front of you?
I do. It's called
Oh,
Oppenheimer,
mhm.
and it's a movie that's starring Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Cillian Murphy. And he's just stacking more and more people. So what do you guys think? When I looked at the list, it looked like an exaggerated steroid version of the Brady Bunch, where there was more than 9 faces. And it's like, man, all of these people have probably been nominated for an Academy Award. Now they're all in a Christopher Nolan movie coming to you. So what are your guys' thoughts
some
on
of
that?
some of those people sound familiar. I think I've seen them in things before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I'm
I
cautiously
mean,
like, go ahead, Jose.
honestly, all you have to tell me is Christopher Nolan, and I am in. You don't have to tell me anything else. You don't have to tell me who's in it. You don't have to tell me what it's about or the title. You say Christopher Nolan, I'm in that theater seat. He has gained that much respect from me, and I have not seen a bad Christopher Nolan movie. There's been some that are better than others, but there hasn't been a movie that I've seen for Christopher Nolan that I have disliked.
Okay,
I
then
didn't
what's
see
your
Dunkirk.
least favorite? What's your least favorite and favorite Christopher Nolan movie? Go,
Oh,
both of
damn.
you.
Put me on the spot right there. Okay.
Yep.
Wait, you say least favorite and
And
most
Least
favorite.
favorite
favorite?
and your favorite.
I mean, it's gonna have to be The Dark Knight for a favorite
Yeah, me
for
too.
sure. And then probably least favorite is Dark Knight Rises.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead, Chuck. Chuck Dizzle.
Oh, hey, how did you know that? Favorite for sure is the Prestige. That thing just gets better every time I watch it. For those of you who haven't watched it, watch it and then watch it again because there's just so much to unpack. I love the Prestige. My least favorite is Dunkirk. Eh. it was just okay. I saw it and then I never watched it again or thought about it again out of my mind. So
That's
I
it.
I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I've never
Um,
watched it a second time. Because Dunkirk, I felt that's a theater movie. You don't watch
mhm.
that at home. And so once I saw it in the theater, I really enjoyed the experience. But I could tell it was like, this won't be the same at home. It's
Yeah.
all about the theater for that one.
Yeah. I watched it on my Apple Watch. That's probably why I didn't really get the full effect.
Yeah,
So
that was your problem. It was Apple. That's the problem number one.
Oh, shots
get out of
fired.
here with your
Don't say
iPhone. We
don't
gotta
say
just
too
so you
loud,
know,
man.
we gotta have green bubbles every time we text Jose. It's ridiculous. I know.
It is. And we are recording this on Mac products. So Apple, we love you. Okay.
Yeah.
Jose
I
doesn't
don't.
speak for the podcast. We are also on Apple Podcasts, so we love Apple. We love you, Apple.
Apple's great. Buy Apple products.
Yes. So in this week's episode, again, we're talking about the difference between reboots, remakes, soft reboots, soft remakes, reimaginings, the imagining of the reimagining. No, I'm kidding. All right. So first, we're going to kick this off. Reboot. What is a reboot? Okay. A reboot resets the continuity of a story. Basically, it starts from scratch like it never happened. It's usually done for franchises. So if you guys want to give some examples, Jose, go ahead.
I mean, one of the biggest examples is 007 that does that every time they cast a new Bond. And then you see it a lot with superhero franchises, Batman, Spider-Man, things like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to chime in on that with Spider-Man, which actually made for a great, in my opinion, new Spider-Man movie because they restarted all these, but then they brought him back through a multiverse. They brought back Toby, Andrew Garfield, which, because of all that was made for a pretty awesome movie. And more awesome movies in the future because multiverse is just going crazy with DC and Marvel. So
it is. And that's what kind of made it so unique is because anytime we've ever done any kind of like reboot, right? It's usually we start scratch, the other one never happened. Doing the multiverse, it makes it canon. And for listeners, canon means it exists in this universe, right? So or multiverse now, but they did something clever and unique with it because they gave credence to it. It exists. So if you grew up watching Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, they still exist. They're just on a different, universe. So bring them all together, it didn't just completely wash it away as if it never happened. So it was something original.
Quick question before we move on to the remake.
Mm-hmm.
On the subject of hard reboot, or just reboots in general, for you guys, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to reboots?
Seeing the same story again. I was tired of watching Uncle Ben from Spider-Man die or Bruce Wayne, his parents getting murdered. So it's having to kind of see that same story over again. I feel like they waste 10 or 15 minutes on movie right there because we have to see the same thing over again, which was cool what they did with Tom Holland Spider-Man when they started his. I'm pretty sure they didn't go with it's Ben, right? Uncle Ben, he's the one who died. Was it Ben? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that whole thing, which was nice. And
Mm-mm.
we'll see what happens with the Batman with Pattinson if they go through with his whole, because that's a reboot, right? So
Mhm.
we'll see how it goes with that one. But Dan,
Yeah.
Dan,
My turn now. It's a lot of what Chuck said. I mean, when they kind of just regurgitate the same thing, but it's like, oh, we changed actors though. We had a different director. We made the colors a little darker. We did something a little different. So it's kind of a reboot. It just feels kind of lazy, So I like it when they add a new, fresh take on it. Spider-Man is a great example because there was no Uncle Ben moment. And for those, that don't know too much about Spider-Man, when his Uncle Ben passed away, that's what kind of set Peter Parker off to become Spider-Man, right? It was the Batman version of when his parents passed. It created that coldness in his heart that made him want to go out and seek revenge and kill bad guys. Take down bad guys, not kill bad guys. Take down
oh,
bad
you're talking
guys.
about Spider-Man or you're talking about Batman?
No, I'm talking about
Batman
Batman right there. I'm talking about Batman right there.
There's Batman,
with
yeah.
Spider-Man, but Spider-Man was kind of the same thing when Uncle Ben, passed away when he was killed by a thug, right? Like a robber guy, basically. That's what set him off to go and want to fight crime, as opposed to just a kid that had all these cool powers and he's just a badass now. It kind of set that motion going, and Uncle Ben was the one that taught him with great powers come great responsibility. We wouldn't have that cool motto, would we, Chuck? If Uncle Ben didn't exist. Chuck.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that kind of answers the question. So
Yeah, no, I agree. That was his catalyst in there, and I was gonna. Mine is the same thing. It's just a recycling of origin stories.
Yeah. Okay. The next one that we talk about is remake, where it recreates a movie. Typically, it's like a classic. It sometimes it could be when they have like a foreign film, right? Something in a different language, and we're redoing it in an English version. Sometimes it'll be something like that, but it's usually like a standalone movie. Sometimes they've done it with horror movies. So if you Chuck, do you want to give some examples of those?
What was okay? The Thing with Kurt Russell, I think
Hmm.
81, 82, 83, 80, and early 80s. That is one of my favorite horror movies, and it's just one of my favorite movies of all time in general. And that's actually a remake of The Thing from what year was the original Thing? Do you guys
Oh
know?
man, it was a lot older. Like, yeah, it was
Like
obviously like a lot older. I'd have to research the year on that, but
yeah,
they've actually done the thing 3 times. They remade it.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then they did another one. But see, this is where it gets confusing though, because the new one they did with like in 2011, maybe,
Mhm.
uh, that was like a prequel, right? To the Thing from in the 80s, because it showed how everything started initially and
Mhm.
how it got going. So I don't know if that's considered a sequel. Is it a reboot? Is
It's a
it a
prequel,
soft
like.
or like I get confused. So if listeners or viewers are getting confused, I'm confused too. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand. Like
Yeah, like it's sort of like where Hollywood's like, well, we want to do something new, so they just do it. But when they say they want to do something new, it's the exact same thing they've already
right.
done. They're changing hats. So that's all that it is. So they
Yeah.
change hats, but like, but what is this? No, 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 no. But it's a prequel, but it's a but we're remaking. It's like, we'll just call it something else. That's kind of what it feels like. So we as filmmakers have to look at this stuff, or even people that are film heads, right? That tend to watch a lot more movies. You start to hear more things about remakes and reboots. For people that's more of the casual people, take your mins, man. I can hear that.
Hold on, putting them away.
Okay. So for people that are more the casual watcher, um if you read these terms, you have no idea what they mean, and they probably don't even really matter to you, I guess, as much, right? Because if you casually watch movies, you don't tend to maybe watch them as much, or you don't watch as many movies. For people that again watch a lot, it kind of helps discern it. So when you go into a movie, you have a better idea of what it is that you're trying to watch, right? Because for us, when we go into a movie, we kind of have a preconceived notion. If it's like a remake, right? Um, then we know, okay, I'm basically rewatching this movie.
Mhm.
They're just updating it. It's either, new cast, updated times, but it's basically the exact same movie. So it really just depends. Did you guys give some examples already of remakes?
Yeah, like another example for that, of, truck one with a good example of a remake. One was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm.
Was remade. Unfortunately, it was not as good because it just was not good. You need a Robert Englund in it, and they
Yeah, yeah.
completely like missed the concept of what Nightmare on Elm Street was. But that's another example of a remake.
Yeah, and
What about the Karate Kid, the one with Jackie Chan? Sorry, Dan. Um, what
no,
would you call that?
that's a
That
it's not
would
a
be the
remake.
next one. That would be the next
Yeah,
one that we're going into.
exactly. That would be the next one that we're about. You're already jumping ahead, man.
My bad.
But some examples also that we have is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, right? So that one was originally foreign language. I think it was a Swedish film, and now they made it American. Another one that I loved is Let the Right One In versus Let Me
Mm.
In. I love the foreign one. The foreign one is so good. The English version of it, it was good. It had Chloe Moretz Grace, right?
And
Did I
you know
get
who
that name
directed
right?
that?
Which one? The new
The
one?
new one. Yeah.
Who?
Matt Reeves, the one who's doing the
Oh,
Batman.
is it? Hey,
He
nice.
directed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, but the other one I just liked more. If you
Yeah.
haven't, so it's just there's something about foreign films that I love, because in American movies, the studios don't allow you to go so dark with it. You're kind of
Mhm.
like in a bubble where you can only show so much, because American audiences, it's like if it goes too gory, the R rating becomes X rated now to some extent, or NC
Mm.
17. I mean, they'll go NC 17 with it. Now you can't really watch it, and it makes sales. It hurts sales. It hurts all that stuff. In
Yeah.
foreign films, they don't give a damn. Like, they'll show deaths. They'll go gory with it, so they can really push the boundaries of what it's supposed to be. So even in that movie, Let the Right One In, it's about a kid that gets bullied, and he befriends a vampire girl. that's around, that looks to be around his age. She's actually a lot older. But so in the foreign version, you see her really killing other kids, and like you see the deaths, you see the gore, you see the blood splattered across the white snow. In the American version, they do a lot of cutaways from that kind of stuff. They'll still show you some of the gore of Chloe kind of turning into like the vampire. You see like the fangs, but you don't really see the killing of it. And for something to be a monster like that, that's so vicious, it's a part of that character. It's
Right.
sort of necessary. You're not watching it just because we're gore fans and we want to watch it, sure, but you're now taking away from that character. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So
It's like PG-13 Deadpool.
exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. So
Yeah, it's
if
like
you make it PG-13 because, you know, hey, we're Disney, we want as many people to be able to watch this. Sure, yeah, okay, but Deadpool's not. I mean, in the
Yeah.
comic books, he's R-rated, man. So
yeah.
I want to watch that. That's the essence of the character. So to water it down, I'm not watching that character anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So yeah.
Kind of going in the opposite direction of the question for the previous one. For this one, what do you guys think is an element that can help make a remake better or more successful? Like, what's one aspect?
one aspect I'll say is if you remake a movie that wasn't that great, if you can do something like that that has promise, then I can see a remake coming out that's super badass, that's super cool to watch, you know. But I think that's going to be the best thing that's my answer.
What
Yeah,
about you, Chuck?
that's what Dan said, you know, like I think that's the only time you would need to make a remake is if like you had some potential, a great idea, a great premise, and then somehow, somewhere the ball was just dropped, right?
Mhm.
For example, Train to Busan, great movie, and they're remaking it. Like an American version, like why? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't understand that. You know,
They did
where
that with
like,
Old Boy. Remember that Old Boy? The
oh,
same thing.
Old Boy,
Yeah.
yeah, another one.
Same thing.
So,
It was such a great foreign film. And I understand that sometimes they're like, well, we want to make an American version. But if the foreign movie is so good, it's really hard to replicate that, man. And I think they're kind of sometimes banking on the fact that American fans haven't watched the foreign films, right? Because a lot
yeah,
of people don't. Some are turned off. They're
yeah,
like, I don't want to read subtitles. I never watch movies dubbed. I need to hear it in the actors' voices, even if I don't understand it,
yeah.
you know. And some people just can't watch stuff like that. So
I watch all my movies with subtitles anyway, even when they're in English.
oh, I
I
do too.
really do. I
No,
really
I do
do.
too. I really
Like,
do. Yeah.
it started because I was like, what are they saying? Like an accent, or you're like, but then it started like, it's like, I don't know if it's my hearing, but when I read, like, I feel like I understand more than if I was, because if you miss a word, you might miss a whole scene. If you just miss a word, you might be like, what, who, you know, and like,
Yeah.
but I read it, and so that works for me. I don't mind foreign films, you know, subtitles don't bug me. So
Yeah. Same, man.
No,
How about you,
and I
Jose?
agree. Yeah, you guys got a good point. That's one that I would choose if I was to add anything. Is I think sometimes you can have a successful and good remake to something that was already good, but the caveat is time. Was there enough time? Because I feel with a good remake, even if you're following the same story aspects, you sometimes you get updated. So if there's been enough time where you need a setting update, maybe a demographic update, things like that, and there's been 30, 40 years where a new generation is watching this movie, then a remake can be successful and you can call for it at that point.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
absolutely. So the third one that we want to talk about is a reimagining. It's like a remake, but it's adding some kind of flavor, some kind of extra sauce to it. It's got a little bit of that juice, you know what I'm saying? So it's something unique. So if you guys want to provide some examples to it of what a reimagining is, Jose, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, yeah, and the way I like to look at this is it's pretty much creating like an alternate universe version of that story. So it's usually has big like changes to it. So beside one example that usually gets brought up all the time, is the Paul Feig's Ghostbusters, the all-female cast one. It's the same story concept, but now we just made everyone female. So that was a reimagining. And then a more recent one, this is more on the TV show aspect, is Bel Air, which is a reimagining of the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So not only did they change the characters, it's no longer a comedy, it's a serious tone. While the same concept is there, there's big story factors that have shifted.
Right.
Yeah. And some other examples that I had was a big one that Disney does is where they have cartoons and they make live action versions of it, right? So you had Aladdin, you had Cinderella, even something like Maleficent, right? You're basically changing the point of view of the storyline. So now we're following the villain and we're seeing their, their point of view on that.
Yeah. And then I had mentioned earlier the Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. What's that? Is that a reimagining?
That's a
Really
reimagining.
reimagining.
You know, you want to hear something really sad? I
always.
I play sports, and I play with younger dudes like in their early 20s, and I'm like, hey,
Things you shouldn't say around the school.
I said early 20s. I didn't say early teens.
It still sounds.
Where the high school girls hang out around here? No, dude, come on. No, it's God damn it, Jose. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, Cobra Kai's out. We love Cobra Kai, right? So I'm like, yo, have you guys seen Cobra Kai? Telling my buddies, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know. I go, it's like a continuation of the Karate Kid. These guys, more than one, like, oh, the one with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith, and I'm like, wait, that's the Karate Kid? That's the Karate Kid to you? Yeah. And I'm like, that is not the Karate Kid. That is, dude. It's,
yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Dude, there's gonna be kids that are gonna grow up watching this new Ghostbusters as their Ghostbusters. Like that's just what they, what they know, man.
You know what? That's okay. That was a good movie. That was good. I liked it.
It was good, but man, Bill Murray, bro. Bill Murray. Come on. Bill Murray in Ghostbusters was amazing.
Yeah, so they really gotta do their homework on there because the Karate Kid is not Jaden Smith. And Mr. Miyagi is not Jackie Chan.
But you do get that, and again, it's like we talked earlier on time frame between the creations of things and the new generation and how they see it. There's a lot of people that think Pacino's Scarface is the original Scarface. They don't know of any other ones. That's the one that they knew, so that is Scarface for them. Yes, it ended up being better, but it easily could have been on par or worse, but that's still what that generation would have known.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And if it was on par or better, I would have been like, yeah, okay. But it wasn't. So it wasn't. So they need to do better. But
no, so he's not a good actor to you?
Who, Jaden Smith?
Yeah.
No, dude.
I wanted that heel.
Yeah, no, yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay. So of the three categories, what's your guys' least favorite?
Reimagining.
Reimagining?
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Because I don't understand it.
Hey, that's fair enough, man.
Because I don't get it. And I don't like things that I don't get. I mean, I get it, but to me, like, I just leave it alone. Just leave it alone or redo the whole thing. Like the whole Bel Air thing. Like, it's cool. Maybe it's good. I haven't checked it out, but why did you need to mess? I mean, I even think Will Smith's a producer in it, but at the same time, like, why did you need to mess with the Fresh Prince of Bel Air? It's iconic and classic, and I just don't understand. And that's why that's my least favorite. So
okay, Jose.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't mind either of them. I feel done the right way, they can all be good. But if I had to choose the least favorite, I would have to say Remake out of them because I feel is the one that's most at risk of giving me what I have already been given by another person, especially like the Psycho remake, which was basically, shot for shot. Like you didn't give me anything. Like you didn't give me anything different.
No.
So with a remake, you run the risk of just kind of regurgitating what was already been done. So that's why that would be least on my list.
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing as remake. I've already seen it. There's a reason why we're talking about this movie. There's a reason why they're making it. At least 7 out of 10 times, the original is better, anyways. At least. So if it's already great, the best that you're shooting for is just to match it. You're not even going to improve on it, because now I'm already going in comparing the two, the classic and this one. So like, let's say if they were to remake Silence of the Lambs, Hopkins was so damn good. You know what I mean? Anthony Hopkins was so good as Hannibal Lecter. If I see anybody else, they're not going to be as good. Or at best, the studio is hoping that maybe it's as good as him. That's like a losing situation to me. So I think remake is just, it's not worth it. And especially if it's like a foreign movie, then I'll just watch the foreign movie.
Mhm.
I mean, I like foreign movies, so I have no issue with it. What's your guys' favorite? So Jose, I'll let you start this one. What's your favorite?
I guess out of those, if someone was to tell me like, hey, we're going to either reboot this, remake this, or reimagine this, I would say reimagine. So I'm completely other spectrum of Chuck here. I would say reimagining, because whether good or bad, I'm gonna get something fresh, something new in there. So you run less risk of re-seeing the same thing again. But it's also the highest risk, highest reward. Because if you mess it up, it's gonna be terrible, and people are gonna get on you. But if you come up with something that's a really good, fresh take on it, it can be amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. How about you, Chuck?
Well, definitely, it's definitely not remake, for everything that you guys said, but I guess I would probably have to say reboot, especially if something was really shitty. Like, I mean, I loved Andrew Garfield, but the Spider-Mans that he was in weren't very good. So with Tom Holland, that's a reboot, right? So, and I love those movies. So for me, a reboot, but only if the original whatever it was shitty. Because then it's like, damn it, I really wanted a good Spider-Man, or I really wanted a good Batman, or whatever. I mean, I loved all the Batmans, well, except, anyways. So, like, yeah, so it would have to be that, like, so.
I want to know what Spider-Man you hated. Say
Uh,
it. Say it, Chuck.
the Amazing Spider-Man. I
Which
like
one?
those.
Part one?
Both of
Oh,
them.
both of them. Got it.
Both
Oh,
of them,
Okay.
yeah. They weren't very
Even
good.
Spider-Man
I
3. Spider-Man 3 wasn't very good either, man, with Tobey
No, it
Maguire.
wasn't. It wasn't. And so, like, you might think, oh, a reboot, this might be good, and it wasn't.
Yeah. For
Like, I
me.
mean, like I said, I love Andrew Garfield. I liked him as Spider-Man. I just didn't like the movies. I didn't like the story. I didn't like any of
Yeah.
that. So a reboot was, was good to go. So, what about you?
For me, it's reboot as well. But I feel like a lot more of a hypocrite, because when they first started doing reboots, I hated it. I hated the idea. It was like, these are classics, let them be. But as time gone on, I've seen them do reboots really well. So to me, I like reboots because the classics still exist, right? It's like that,
Right.
especially with the multiverse, that universe still existed. I can still go back, like it, just because they reboot something doesn't mean that that franchise is dead. So if they can come in and retell something, I like the fact that they're kind of starting it from scratch. So I'm no longer comparing the two.
Right.
That to me is why I think I'm better with the reboots, because it's something fresh. I mean, you're using similar characters or characters that I know of, but you recasted it, different writers, different directors, even the color could look different. You can set it in a different place. It's completely brand new. And like what Jose said about 007, how many different versions of 007 have we seen? You know what I mean? I know some people get very sacred about some of them, like Indiana Jones. It's only Harrison Ford. It's only Harrison
Right.
Ford. I used to think that way, but if they were to do different versions, I love Indiana Jones, the character, so much. I'd be willing to see, as long as they did the reboot correctly, I'd be okay with seeing a different person casted, because Indiana Jones 4, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was so bad.
Yeah.
They killed the nostalgia for me on those first 3 movies. And I think because Star Wars, had their sequels, the prequels, and they've had sequels, and
The better
some of them,
ones, right?
no, Not better ones, Chuck. You're about to get muted, Chuck.
Not at all.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding, dude. I'm kidding.
I know.
No, I'm not.
But but the fact that we've seen it so much, I've just got desensitized by it now. So now I just want to see good movies. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not
would
as
you
tight
cast?
with that. For Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
man.
Who's your new Indiana?
I remember people were talking about Chris Pratt at the time, and I wouldn't be mad at it. My only thing is that because he's got that kind of you know, we've seen him be kind of a badass in the Jurassic World movies and stuff. He kind of has that indie feel to him, but Professor Jones, like Dr. Jones, I'm not buying him as Dr. Jones, unfortunately, you know. So I don't know. I'd really have to think about that and see, you know, nobody's jumping at me, you know, to do it. But let's just say hypothetically they rebooted it. Let's say it's not that great. It's just okay. That doesn't lose anything for me on the Harrison Ford Indiana Jones. Right. Yeah, I can still go back and rewatch it. So
yeah.
One of the things to kind of just play off of what you were just saying there regarding the reboots. One thing I feel that's becoming more common now are the soft reboots, where it's like they don't fully reset the entire thing. They're just like, oh, the part 2, part 3, part 4 sucked. Let's just ignore it and make this come after the original. They did it with Halloween, with the new Halloween movies. They just did it with Chainsaw Massacre, where they ignored everything. And this is a continuation of the first one. They did it with Jurassic Park, where Jurassic World was basically taking place after the original one. They ignored like 2 and 3, in essence. So that's something that's become more common. I believe it gives them a chance to right mistakes. So if you have a bad indie movie like that, you can be like, hey, that one never existed. Let's just continue on from the good ones and make another good one after.
Okay, so for that's where I have more of a problem with the soft reboots, is because those movies do exist. And even if I didn't like it, somebody out there likes it. And if you're saying, nope, it doesn't exist, this is the real canon, this is what the story goes, you now just deleted those movies from that universe, from that existence. Right. That's where I start to have more issues with it. I like the harder reboots. That way, my original trilogy, it still exists untouched. Right. Giving me a sequel now, like, let's say hypothetically, I loved the Halloween 2, 3, 4, whatever. Let's say Chuck hates them, but he loves the new one. We're now arguing against each other between whose one exists and all that stuff. And it's just, I don't like that, man. Either it exists or it doesn't.
See, for me, that's easy. If I enjoyed the sequels, then no, I don't like it. And if I didn't enjoy the sequels, then yes, do it, because my opinion is important.
So you love it when it's convenient to you, Jose.
Exactly. Me.
Exactly. Okay. Now I have a fun question for you guys. Okay, which movie would you like to see? Basically, if they rebooted it, remade it, reimagined, whatever. Which one would you want to see? So basically, a movie that maybe wasn't great, it had some good moments in it, but one that you think they can absolutely improve on. Like, you saw flashes of good in there, but the execution, they did not stick the landing.
Yeah.
Not a strong ending. The sequel to our podcast.
Go first, Jose, because I got to think of mine.
Okay. So this was a movie that it started off actually pretty strong, and then it just, like Dan said, did not stick the landing at the end. It kind of lost steam. But I feel there's potential there to really push it. Hancock, I feel, was a movie that, like, the pieces were there. Will Smith, did well in that role. The character was charismatic. They had some good lore that they started to build there. But then just the second half of that, it didn't deliver. So, like, I feel that one will be one that I wouldn't mind that they try to remake and just kind of take those pieces and just shine them up a little bit.
Okay. I have one, and then I'll let you think about yours a little longer, Chuck. All right. Mine is the Butterfly Effect. The Butterfly Effect. And I know that's one that, people think, what Butterfly Effect? The movie. Dude, the
I
concept
liked
was
it.
smart, man. It
Yeah.
is. I just rewatched it last night.
I'm
It's
gonna
one of
watch
those
it. I
movies
liked
that
it.
dude, it's good. Like the concept is really good, but when you watch it, Ashton Kutcher was so miscast in that role. The movie got ridiculous and so like laughable. It became a damn near comedy by the end of it. A lot of the casting they did was questionable. Like it wasn't the best, actors. The dialogue didn't feel that great, but the concept behind it, behind the butterfly effect about this kid who has these blackout moments, and then when he goes back to his journal and starts reading them, he can kind of tap back into this, and anything he changes the future. So every time he goes back into his past, like let's say he accidentally cuts himself, he wakes up back in the future and he's got a cut on it now. But the more deeper he goes in that, the more crazy and insane, because his brain is basically adding a whole different second life of memories. So it starts becoming overload like a computer. But the concept behind it is so good. Just they didn't stick the
landing.
landing. They didn't stick the landing.
off to a strong start, but did not stick the landing.
Exactly.
What's funny about that one is, have you seen Butterfly Effect 2?
I have, yes.
Okay, that they call it a sequel, but they pretty much just redid the movie with different actors and
Yes.
tweaked it a little bit, where now it was pictures instead of the journal and the writing that's making him go back. So that basically they redid it again and just like, let's throw a part 2 up there.
So it's like a reimagined, I guess. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
Kind of ish. I mean, I don't know. So go ahead, check.
Yeah,
What do you got?
they used the script to go back in time and like redo it.
There you go. There you go. All right, Chuck, what do you got?
You know what's funny is I took a quick peek real quick on my movies on my phone, right, to see if I found anything, and I found something, and I realized it's already happening. Blade, the new Blade with for Marvel.
Mhm.
Like I loved Blade 1 and 2, especially I loved them both. Part 2 was directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Mhm.
It was great.
My man.
And then the third one did not stick the landing. They pretty much shit the bed on it, dude. It was awful. It was so awful. And they had Ryan Reynolds in there too, and that, and it was so bad. And I always thought, damn, that should have been a good trilogy. They really should have. So the fact that they're redoing it now, like, I'm pretty pumped for it. Like, I mean, to me, Wesley Snipes is always Blade. He's Blade, but like you were saying, it's like, okay, I still have that one, even though the third one sucked. And then we have the new one that's in the MCU, with is it I can't pronounce his name, Marshall Ali. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, he's really good. But yeah, and he makes a little cameo at the end of the Eternals. So
nice.
I feel about that movie how I feel about Deadpool. Under Disney's control, for me, Blade is a rated R movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So I do feel I want to be excited for it, but something in the back of my mind is be like, is Disney gonna tame it?
Yeah,
that's how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
Dude, Disney just needs to be able to have their R-rated division and just accept it, because they have R-rated property and they own the Aliens franchise, man. You got the Alien franchise. Like, I love Alien. I love that trilogy, like the whole franchise, man. Don't do it dirty, please. Don't do it dirty, Disney. I beg of you, don't do it dirty.
I know, dude. They own Showgirls, right? I'm pretty sure they do. So
yes, but in fairness, everybody owns Showgirls in their hearts.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a great, just thematically and everything. I thought it was a great story.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
All right, so what's on the queue? What do you guys got on the queue?
What do I got on the queue?
Jose,
Finishing Righteous Gemstones. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you already started it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
finishing
Righteous Gemstones, and I'm watching Dr. Death on Peacock. It's pretty good.
I don't have Peacock. Is it good? Peacock?
It's good. Yeah, Peacock has some good stuff. They have some good shows, and so it's with Joshua Jackson, Alec Baldwin, and
Jackson,
and Christian Slater. It's good, dude. It's actually based on a true story about this doctor who basically was killing patients, and they're trying to figure out if he was doing it on purpose or if he was just not skilled enough. But it's pretty good, dude.
So
So
that sounds
that-
interesting. But in fairness, those 3 actors that you said, not one of them is enticing for me to go out of my way to watch it. But it might be a
Christian-
good show.
Christian Slater, dude. You don't like
Christian Slater hasn't been relevant since the 90s, man.
And
Like,
he did Mr. Robot.
yeah, he did. But still, like, was he the best part of Mr. Robot? Was he? But
Dude,
anyways,
he's cuffs. Come on.
okay. Go ahead, Jose.
And that was an outlier because up to that point of Mr. Robot, the reputation for Christian Slater was if he's on the show, it's canceled after a season, most likely.
Yep.
That was like the outlier.
It was. It
Okay.
was. All right.
On my queue coming up is actually one of my favorite companies that I feel hits it in most of the movies, and even their not so good movies are better than a lot of other companies' movies. Is Pixar, and they have Turning Red coming out, so they have their new movie coming out. It's going straight to Disney Plus. For some reason, Disney right now is putting their Pixar movies straight to their platform and not releasing them in theaters, but always love Pixar. Their movies are great. Their writing is great. So that's going to be on my queue.
Nice, man. For me, it's gonna end up being The Wire. I keep being told The Shield. I keep being told The Wire. Chuck's already threatening that I better be Team Shield, right? Or
Yeah,
there's a
of
Team
course,
Wire,
dude.
whatever.
No,
Yeah,
Team
I already
Shield,
got
dude.
blasted on Twitter with people saying, "You haven't seen The Wire." It's like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, there's so many things to watch. So I can turn around saying, "Have you guys seen all the foreign films that I have?" No, you haven't. Have you? So I only have
Hey.
one set of eyes, guys. Like, I can only watch so much things, but I will watch it. I promise.
On this podcast, we're the majority.
Yeah.
No Wire. And
Exactly.
I need to finish The Shield.
Yeah. I mean, did
Exactly.
you like what you saw?
I did. It was it's a lot. It's the same reason I haven't started The Sopranos. And it's because I attempted with 24. After it was done, I was like, all right, let me watch this. And just fatigue of watching all of those episodes, all of those seasons, like kicked in. So now if a show is that many seasons in, it's hard for me to get started in it because I know what's ahead of me. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got like 100 episodes to watch.
Man, you gotta watch Sopranos. Sopranos is so good.
You
But
have
anyways,
to watch The Shield. It's so good.
okay, that concludes our episode of Not a Strong Start. You can follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram at Not a Strong Start. You can watch us on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. We need those. Jose needs those subscribers. He needs them.
I do.
Give it to him.
I do. My life depends on it.
All right, everybody. Catch you next week.